Running this familiar query shows us that if you look on the location ID field, you see the majority of the employees work at location 1. But how about we get a count of the location ID and exactly how many employees work there? Let's say group by location ID. Since this field is listed in the group by, it must also be listed in the select field as well as a count. And we see location 1 has 7 employees. We want to see the locations that have more than 2 employees. You might be tempted to say where count is greater than 2, but the where clause does not work with aggregated fields. So instead of doing a where, let's do the exact same thing below the group by, but use the word having. And you can filter your aggregated results. Okay, check out this process. We see we have 4 locations, but what this query does not tell us is how many people work at each of those locations. So what we're going to do is do a full outer join on the employee table. Now let's alias this as loc, and let's alias this as emp, and let's join those on loc dot location ID equals emp dot location ID. And run the query. Whoa, we get a lot of fields, so let's narrow it down to just state and emp dot first name. And run it. Now we see the vast majority of our employees work in Washington. How many? Run this query. We see we have 9 in the state of Washington, 3 in Massachusetts, none in Illinois, and Nowhere Land seems to have 1 employee, John Marshbank. Using what you've learned, let's find all of the states that have more than 2 people. Having, count, greater than 2. And we get these 2 records in our result set. This query will find all of the grant amounts and the employees that found them. If an employee has found multiple grants, they'll be listed multiple times, 1 for each grant they've found. So let's run this. Now the first amount is $4,700, which was found by David Lawning. We also have some more David Lawning ones. Here's an $18,000 grant, and here is a $25,000 grant. Now if you do the math, this goes over $40,000. There's only one other employee who has over $40,000, and that's Terry O'Hare. Not because Terry has found a lot of grants, Terry found 1 big grant. So what we want to do is we want to aggregate these results. Now we're going to do a double grouping. Group by, and both of these fields, because we only want to sum the amount. So we will put sum amount and run it. And now each employee is listed once because it's sorted on their first and last name, and their grand total is displayed right next to their name. So why don't we use the having to find all of the sums that are over $40,000. And notice we get only 2. Now, David Lawning has more than $40,000, so does Terry. But David Lawning does not have an individual grant over $40,000. You saw that we can't use where with aggregated fields. Well, you can use a where clause in an aggregated query, just not on an aggregated field. Here's what I mean. If we said where amount greater than 40,000, and we completely left off this having, what result do we get? We only see Terry O'Hare, because the where is looking for all individual records over 40,000. This query will show us a list of all customers who've ever purchased from us. And it looks like we have 775 of them. How many of them ordered from us at least once in the year 2006? Well, there's no date field in the customer because they can order multiple times. That information is in the sales invoice table. So we're going to alias the customer table as CU and join it on the sales invoice table and see how many results we have. Well, we've got a lot more because several customers bought many times. But at least we can start narrowing down the date fields. Let's do that. Let's say where order date is between 1/1/2006 and 1/1/2007. And let's run it. All right, we filtered down 438 records. Okay, well, how many of those records are unique or distinct customers? I see of the 438 records, Helen is listed 3 times. What if I want her to be listed only once? Well, let's do this. Distinct, CU dot, and then asterisk for all the customer fields. Looks like we have 333 customers. Distinct and group by are very powerful querying tools. Sometimes you use one, sometimes you use the other, but there is a time where you may want to use both. For example, let's start off by looking at this view called vSales. And what this gives us is every single product that's ever been ordered. Customer 597 on January 8, 2006, ordered 5, product number 7. And we have 6,960 records total. Well, we want to measure how widespread and impactful certain products are. Now, at first glance, if you had product A that sold 8 times and product B that sold 8 times, you've impacted the same number of people. Maybe that's not true. Perhaps product A has sold 8 times, but once to one person and another person bought it 7 times. You've only impacted 2 people. Product B may have been sold 8 times to 8 different people. So we want to see each product and how many different customers have tried that product out or purchased it 1 or more times. So let's just view the product ID and the customer ID. Now let's group on the product ID. And let's get a count of the customer ID. And run it. Now, when we look at product 23, it looks like it's only been ordered once. Product 69, well, that's been ordered 60 times. But was that ordered by 60 different customers? Or maybe 59 customers because one customer came back and bought it twice. So this group by just tells us the number of different times we've seen a customer. If this customer is repeated, it's going to count it each time it sees it. Unless you put the distinct keyword inside of here. Now watch this. Number 69 has been ordered 60 times by 59 distinct different customers. Time for Lab 4.2, Skill Check 1. Using the Sales Invoice table, write a query which groups on customer ID and counts the number of orders, also called invoices, that each customer has made. Return only the records where the customer ID has ordered more than 7 times. Show the aggregated field as order account. When you're done, your screen should resemble the figure you see here. Skill Check 2. Join the sales invoice detail and the current products table showing just the product ID and invoice ID fields. Change the query to group on the product ID and count the invoice ID field. Return only records where the product ID has been ordered more than 200 times. When you're done, your screen should resemble the figure you see here. All right, that finishes up Lab 4.2 on filtering aggregated results. What's next? Lab 4.3 on aggregations and stored procedures.